I come from a little town in southern Lebanon called Marjeyoun, the Valley of Springs. If you have ever visited Metula in Israel on the northern border and stood on the border overlooking at Lebanon, my town is across the valley, across the border. We knew what our fate going to be because we heard of the massacres and we knew our days were numbered. And we knew to our front were the Muslims and the Palestinians who are waiting to slaughter us so they can be at the border with Israel. But we knew that to our back was Israel, the Jews. And we knew that of the two enemies, because at that time Israel was considered the enemy of Lebanon. We had no diplomatic relations in the 70s. We knew as Christians, if we go to the Jews and beg for help, the Jews are not going to slaughter us because we had more shared values with them than we had with the Muslims. So few people from my town went to Israel and begged for help. They flagged down an Israeli patrol and said, listen, we barely have 48 hours to live. If you don't come help us, we're going to be dead. So you help us, we'll be your buffer zone. It works out for both of us. Israel started coming in the middle of the night and bringing in ammunition and bringing in support and bringing in food for the military and bringing bomb shelters to people. And Israel would take Lebanese Christians, anybody who can fight between the age of 15 and 40, and take them into Israel and train them how to fight. Because we learned very early on in the war that you can have all your professional degrees behind you on the wall, your medical degree, your accounting degree, your law degree, your whatever degree. None of that will do you any good when you are faced with an enemy bent on killing you in the name of Allah. So Israel started to help, and Israel would come in the middle of the night, and this is how we lived for 3 years while no one in the world cared. I remember I was 13 years old, and a friend of ours from the militia, from our Christian militia, stopped by. And he said, Brigitte, I just want you to know that we heard on the radios today that the Muslim forces are planning a major attack against our town. And if I don't get to see you tomorrow, if we get killed tonight, I just want to wish you a merciful death. And he gave me a big hug and he left. And I remember as a 13-year-old dressing in my Sunday best, in my Easter dress, because I wanted to look pretty when I am dead, knowing that there would be no one to bury me after they slaughter me. And I remember sobbing as my mother combed my long black hair down to my hips and tied a white ribbon in my hair that matched the white flowers in my blue dress. And I cried, begging her, I don't want to die, I'm only 13 years old. And there was nothing my mother could say to me. And we just cried. And I remember sitting in the corner of our bomb shelter and holding each other's hands and praying, my mother, my father, and I. And my father said to me, my father opened up the Bible and we were reading from Psalms, I shall walk into the valley of death and fear no evil. And my parents said to me, if they come to slaughter us tonight, we will create a distraction. You just run towards Israel and you never look back. You are a child, you are a young child. We lived a long life. Thank God I did not make that decision that night, because that's the night when Israel came in physically into Lebanon and kicked out the Muslim forces and the Palestinians and set up checkpoints to save our lives around our town.